Welcome, everyone. We've got a great webinar today. Just wanted to point out before we get going that this webinar will be recorded, and it will be alongside all the other webinars that have been recorded, the previous ones. And so you can refer to these webinars if you want to review the content. So today's webinar is a really interesting one. I'm really looking forward to it. It's a real pleasure to be joined by Muna Mohammed from GitLab. We're going to be having a presentation and a demo about GitLab Duo. Before that, I'm just going to say a few words and thoughts about AI adoption and security, just to get us thinking and in the right zone. And then Muna will then carry on with her presentation. Yeah, so this is just a summary of the agenda. And after we've looked at GitLab, we'll have a bit of Q&A, and we'll have what's next about the next webinar coming up. So before we get really going, I'd just like to introduce myself. Haven't done any of these webinars previously. My name is Philip Armour. I'm a solutions architect and have been consulting at Eficode UK, that used to be called Clear Vision, for just over 10 years. But prior to that, I've got quite a bit of industry experience with some well-known names, more than a decade, where I was working in software development, testing and releasing teams. So that gives me some experience to fall back on when I'm talking to customers. I'm really pleased to be joined by Muna, who is Ecosystem Solutions Architect from GitLab. She has extensive industry experience and is helping customers with their DevOps workflows and optimizing them and doing a great work there. So if we move to the next slide, I'd like to just talk a little bit about some interesting topics around AI and sort of coming into security. And you'll see some of these topics coming up in Muna's presentation. So a big question is kind of fear around AI, and you can't really be a knowledge worker without being kind of aware of this, that, will your job be kind of threatened by how AI is expanding and becoming better? I kind of think it's useful to have like a glass half full mindset with this, that there's so many ways that AI can make us better as knowledge workers. And so I think we have to grasp the positives and find ways of leveraging AI so that we do the best work. And I still think there will always be a role of human beings to provide the gaps that AI can't really do very well. Ownership and control is an important question over AI, especially as it seems to be taking the world by storm, and companies find it hard to keep track of how AI is going into the SDLC and how they work with software. And a topic that I'd like to emphasize in this intro as well is security. We know that AI is really excellent at creating code and content and helping developers, but the convenience of it means, there's a trust thing. How much do we trust the code that's coming out of AI? And so there's a real need for this AI governance. And I'm going to come back to security a little bit in one of the following slides. And just to finish off this slide, there's the question of value. AI services are becoming cheaper, but they're still an investment. And so the return on investment is something that the customers really need to be thinking about. So I just want this sort of slide with the differences between assistants and agents has been covered in a previous webinar, but I think it's interesting and worth referencing here. We're going to see it where Muna talks about the duo use cases. So just to reiterate what the differences are. So assistance is like enhancing and supplementing, but the human being, as a knowledge worker, you're still in the driving seat and you're still sort of being augmented by AI, but AI isn't taking over. And this is contrasting with agents, which are more autonomous AI system, which can basically take on tasks without as much interaction as with the assistants. And we're going to see this later, I believe, in Muna's presentation with the concept of the GitLab workflow. And so GitLab are thinking about implementing agents in their solutions. But I think in general, these are all often cases where AI is doing something that human beings aren't brilliant at doing. And we've had obviously automated testing for a long time before AI came around. So AI is just kind of an extension of that in a way. So if we move to the next slide, I wanted to just finish off my intro talking about AI and security and contrasting the risks that AI brings against the sort of ways that AI kind of mitigates the risks that it itself brings. So alluding to the previous slide around AI adoption, we know that AI isn't perfect, and code like LLMs that create code and create content are trained on human code examples that might themselves not be perfect. And everyone who's used AI knows that AI can sometimes hallucinate and introduce inaccuracies, so it can't be completely trusted at the moment anyway. And at the same time, AI is kind of changing how attackers attack the software that people make. So it's increasing the attack surface. And a third kind of important point, and I think Muna is going to talk about this a little bit, is that whenever you deal with an AI service, you're effectively sending sensitive or proprietary data to it, and you need to be pretty sure about what's going to happen to that data, and it's not going to be used, for example, to train the model. So these are, on the left-hand side, some risks. And contrasting with that, solutions, AI in some ways helps you as well, because AI can review code and help you work out how to provide mitigations for potential exploits and help you with the training around the areas that they could be exploited. It can summarize merge requests or pull requests and explain code to people so that they can review the code better. And it could do other things like select human reviewers for a merge request or a pull request. And then finally, it can actually generate the tests that expose the potential security holes in software. So I hope that's given you something to think about and consider. I think it's probably a good time now to switch over to Muna, who's got, as I said, a really great GitLab Duo presentation and demo. So over to you, Muna.
Thank you so much, Philip. Hi, everyone. I'm Muna. Today I'll talk to you about GitLab Duo. For those of you that are not so familiar with GitLab Duo, Duo is our AI set of capabilities that we have here at GitLab. It covers the end-to-end software development lifecycle, and today we'll talk about what GitLab Duo main features are. I will demo a few of those, and I will also share some of our latest announcements around our AI. So without further ado, I wanted to discuss how sometime last year we did a global DevSecOps study, and the research was conducted and found that actually 78% of organizations said that they're currently using AI in their software development or plan in the next few years. So that's a massive number of organizations and people that are looking to implement AI in their workflows. And so now more than ever, AI is super competitive and it's an ever-evolving landscape, and it can be difficult to find AI tools that actually make your job easier, not harder. And so taking a step back, I sort of wanted to touch on what the main issue is around not just AI, but just having so many different tools and where the confusion can really come from. So most environments today look a little like this. So perhaps if you are working on a client project, or if you are a software developer or just developer in general, and you're utilizing different tools such as like Jira for your planning, or Datadog, or GitHub. There's just all these tools that you're probably switching from day to day, and that can be quite overwhelming, and it causes a bit of a mess in terms of day to day getting your tasks done. And all that context switching, whether you realize it or not, can cause quite a bit of a burden. And when you input AI into this, it can be a massive headache. And so a nice little statistic there, we've got 74% of organization are currently using AI for software development, so that they wanted to consolidate their toolchain. So that is, again, a very high percentage of organizations that are saying the same thing and they're facing the same problem. So another issue that has also been identified is that oftentimes AI adoption is only focused on the coding piece. So if you think about your day-to-day, you may think, okay, I need someone to help me with writing some code faster, or generating a bit of code, or explaining that code to me. And AI can be a massive and really helpful tool for that. However, that's only 20% or 21% of your time that is spent writing the code. There are loads of other tasks that you may be doing during your day that could actually benefit from the utilization of AI. For example, improving existing code, meetings and admin tasks, which can be quite overwhelming at times, improving security exposure, or even testing and code maintenance. And so actually those tasks, when you add up all your time, take up 79% of your 79% of your time. So with that in mind, we have a set of capabilities that provide the end-to-end AI workflow to every single person that is using GitLab. And what we're known for is really GitLab Duo. You have AI across your entire software development lifecycle, and the three main things that I'd like to mention today and kind of focus on, and are really what makes us stand out as a company, is privacy and transparency is really at the forefront of the development of our AI. And this is really important, and I'll touch on a bit of the transparency piece in a minute. Utilizing the right AI models for each use case, again, super important. We're not tied down to just one LLM vendor. We actually utilize multiple different vendors, and the reason for this is so that we have the best possible outcome on your different features that you're leveraging, and this is all well documented in our GitLab docs. The last but not least that I again will touch on in a minute is we have a unified data store that provides full context on your workflow. So this again, it's super helpful for providing that context on your entire workflow to ensure that there are no silos. So with that in mind, I will kind of go into each one in a bit more detail. So how we differentiate is that we are really a transparent and company overall, not just with our AI. And so we really value making sure that your data that you're inputting in any of our AI is not being used for training. So everything is secure. That builds trust with our customers and partners. And this is all publicly available in what we call the AI Transparency Center, which is a website that you can visit that we launched like a year ago now. Yeah, I've got it on this slide. So we launched this last year, and it's our GitLab AI Transparency Center. So here, we understand that we're a global company, and adoption of AI can be very different depending on the industry that you're in. And so here we release everything relating to any of the new updates, keeping up with the industry, any regulations that have happened, for example, if the European Union come up with a law about AI, this will be where you would find all of how we would adhere to this particular regulation and how our AI adheres to this. So this is the website where we store all of this information. Also our AI continuity plan, so where we see this going, as well as all the AI features and every single documentation regarding this. So if you're interested in one particular feature, what LLMs are powering that feature, how that feature works, you'll be able to find it there. And also loads of other information. So if you're interested in our transparency, please do visit our AI Transparency Center that we have available online. The second thing that I also mentioned was around utilizing the right AI model for each use case. We have AI across the entire SDLC, meaning that there are loads of different features being utilized across the entire software development lifecycle. So that means that we have like an AI abstraction layer that you can see in the slide, and there's different models kind of powering these features. And so what this really does is that it gives you the autonomy and the highest quality output. So this has been thoroughly tested by our teams. And so, for example, if you're using GitLab Duo Chat, it's powered by maybe 2 or 3 LLMs, and this has been thoroughly tested, and it gives you the best quality output compared to it just being just tied down to one individual LLM provider, which might be good for one feature, but not be the best for other features across our software development lifecycle. So that's what we mean by using the right AI model for each AI for each use case. The last thing here that I wanted to touch on was having a unified data store. So everything is within a single data store. So it's not just the AI piece, is our entire GitLab is all sitting in one single data store. So if you're planning and creating, integrating and verifying, deploying, operating, monitoring and improving, everything is within that one context. And so this really accelerates this accelerates not only the adoption of AI, but just improves your security, improves anything that you'd like to use GitLab for, and it's all sitting in one place, and it really helps with that context and understanding what's happening in your environment. Now to my favorite slide. The reason why this is my favorite slide is because it really encompasses in a short and visual manner everything we do. Basically, not everything, but most of things that we do. So let me take a step back and explain what this is. So this was what we call the GitLab flow. So let's start from the very top. I hope you can see my mouse. Here is where you would usually start your journey with GitLab, with planning. Maybe you've got like an issue that you want to start writing and collating all the information to start planning your work. And so this section here would be your planning piece. Then you move on to more your merge requests and pushing the code and writing the code and examining this code and testing the code, to then moving to more towards the security piece of GitLab. We have built-in security, and so it's always scanning for any vulnerabilities that have been detected. And of course, the collaboration piece with discussions and code reviewers and approvals, etc., all the way down to, like, of course, release and deployment. Now, this is just a simple flow. What's different on this slide is that anytime you see the little icon here, which is the GitLab icon, it means that we have AI features enabled. And so there's actually quite a few across the entire flow. I will show you some of these features today. Unfortunately, we have so many across the entire software development lifecycle, which means we'll be here for not just an hour, but a lot longer. But I just want to show you the power of utilizing AI across different pieces, whether it's just beginning to plan your work or whether you want to use it for scanning and finding vulnerabilities and identifying them before deployment. And last but not least, we have something that we call the GitLab Duo chat, which sits across the entire GitLab flow. And with this Duo chat, you're able to ask questions as you're working, and because, as I mentioned, we have a single data store. It picks up the context on which you're working on. You can ask for documentations. You can ask for help with code. It can help you with fixing vulnerabilities. It can help you summarize things. So it's just there as a friend to kind of support you throughout your journey with AI. You will see everything I mentioned, not everything, but most things I mentioned in the demo. So don't worry about the slide. We'll come back to it. Now, the latest announcements. We have had a lot of announcements in the past year, especially even in this quarter, around GitLab Duo. And that, again, the ever-evolving market of AI, there's a lot of new announcements. So I just want to give you the highlights of what's been happening before we move on to the demo part. So the first thing I wanted to mention, this is upcoming. It's not generally available yet. And this links back to what Philip was saying in the very beginning about AI assistants and AI agents. So, so far I spoke about GitLab Duo and the flow of GitLab Duo and how it works and how it differentiates from anything else in the market. And is very much an AI assistant. It helps you to do your daily tasks and do your day-to-day tasks all in one place. GitLab Duo workflow is more towards an agent, and so is an AI-powered coding agent in your VS Code IDE, and it really helps solve your coding tasks more quickly. You can use it to speed up routine tasks and improve your work, and you can learn different approaches on how to handle this. So it's going to be really, really amazing to see when it comes into action, and I can't wait for this to be generally available for you all to see GitLab Duo workflow. The next big announcement, which was announced I think a week ago, I believe, or a week and a half ago, and this is generally available, is GitLab Duo with Amazon Q. So GitLab Duo with Amazon Q leverages the AI innovations of both companies. So I've thoroughly spoken today about GitLab Duo and while maintaining like your best-in-class DevSecOps user experience infrastructure, and this is also being supercharged by the AI assistant workflow with Amazon Q, and it kind of unifies both in one place. And so it's really amazing. This is really helpful for those of you that are AWS customers, but also utilizing GitLab on-prem. I would highly suggest giving this a go because you can kind of combine best of both worlds with using Duo with Amazon Q, and you can leverage the vast scale of investments, and it's really amazing to actually see the innovation with Duo with Q. This slide is kind of to showcase what it can do. Hold on. Yeah. So the first thing is that you get a seamless developer experience. So you get your DevSecOps all built in with GitLab and your Duo, basically. And you also get the enterprise-grade security, compliance, and infrastructure ready for AI. So really and truly, it's a good combination of both, and it really helps those of you that are already utilizing Duo on-prem as well as Amazon. So yeah, it's a really amazing solution. Regarding this, I would say if you're interested, please do sign up on our website, and you'd be able to get like lab access and get to play around with it. Now, the reason why you get to see the slide once again is just because I wanted to remind you of the flow. So the planning of the work here, the merge request, the pushing the code, the scanning, the security piece, the collaboration piece, all the way to release and deployment. We won't see all these features today, but I just wanted to show you before we get to the demo. So now let's move on to some hands-on action. Great. So here we've got a quick project that I wanted to showcase to you. And I have had this project for a while, so just bear with me. Some of the things I already sort of done myself so that we don't spend time waiting for like pipelines or codes and things to run. This is all for the sake of time. But here, if you're also familiar with GitLab, this is just a common project. It's called Duo Demo, and we will start off with planning some work. So let's go to plan issues here. So I've got some issues here, but for the sake of just a demo, we'll start with starting with a new issue. So we select new issue at the top. And we can give it a title. I've got a title here for me to copy over. We'll call it Improving Security, Efficiency, and Bug Handling in the Backend Service. And we give it a short description to give it a purpose and for the issue to have some sort of so it's easier to collaborate with our teams. So let me copy a quick description over. Now, normally the descriptions I write are a lot shorter, straight to the point, and I'd say it's not perhaps the best for collaboration. And so what we have noticed is this issue with people like me. So what you can do is you can select GitLab Duo right here on just above preview. There's GitLab Duo, and you can ask AI to generate an issue description for you. So I have inputted my few words in there, and I'm going to submit this and get GitLab Duo to populate an issue description in detail so that our other team members can work with me on this. So as you can see, it's done a better job than what I would have done with explaining the issue. You can also have a look at it from a preview. It's even written it in a nice format and even left some additional notes. Now, every single time Duo helps you with generating a description, it does say description was generated using AI. Of course, this can be removable. You can go back in and edit it before you create the issue. If you don't want people to know that you utilize GitLab Duo and you want them to think that it was all you, that's also okay. Let's remove that and let's create the issue. Maybe let me assign it to myself as well here, and you can give it some like deadlines and milestones and etc. Now this is your issue, and just like that we have had an issue description generated using GitLab Duo. The next thing I wanted to show you around the bit around planning your work is how Duo is able to summarize some discussions. Now, some of these issues are a little bit older, and for example, this one was also generated using AI, and you have a very old conversation where I was talking to myself. Let's just say you are working with many different people in a team, and you have a long thread of conversation happening with multiple people that spans over months, and you've just joined the project. How do you onboard quickly? How do you get on top of the conversation? All you need to do is select View Summary, and GitLab Duo chat pops up. And as you can see, it summarized the conversation. Of course, if it was months long, it would summarize it a bit better, and there would be conversations saying, Philip said this, Mona said this, etc., etc. Now, I'm going to clear this chat and move on to our next section. So just referring back to this, we've discussed the planning piece. Okay, so next bit that I wanted to discuss is once you move from the planning phase and that's concluded, we move on to things like merge requests and how we develop a solution. So things like code suggestion, code explanation would probably be on your radar, and how can GitLab Duo help me with this? So let's have a look. So if you're not, again, so familiar with GitLab, one thing I do like is the user experience is quite simple. So if you select code, you select merge requests, there should be some merge requests, or if you haven't done any merge requests, I guess you can create one from the issue. But here I've got some on this project already kind of up and running. And if you want to go get to the web IDE, all you need to do is select code and open it in the web IDE or the IDE of your choice. Now, we're not going to do any of that today. I already have some code open here, and I will like GitLab Duo to help me understand the code because I'm not so familiar with Python. So what do? I select this entire code. I then right click it, and as you can see, GitLab Duo chat opens there. I can ask it to explain the selected snippet. I can ask for it to fix this, to generate tests, just open the chat, or refactor. So those are the 5 different things that I can ask GitLab Duo to do. So let's take it step by step. Let's start with explaining the selected code. As you can see, GitLab Duo chat doesn't leave you. It goes everywhere. Even in your web IDE, it's always there. And it's now, because I selected a massive chunk, it's now working on an answer on how to explain this to me as someone that isn't familiar with this code or the language. So let's have a look at what it said. It was quite instantaneous and very quick with the answer. So here it gives us a quick overview of what's happened. It highlights some key components, setups, what to do. So it really goes into thorough explanation, even the API endpoints. And here are some issues that it's noted within the comments. Now, I can also do the same thing. Once again, select the entire thing. Maybe I don't need to select the import, but it's okay. And ask for it to be fixed, since it's picked up on some issues. And GitLab Duo is thinking and working on this, where it would have taken me or any other human being a little bit longer to kind of decipher this information, understand it, ask for like suggestions or whatever it is. Duo is here to do it and help you instantly. So again, here it is. It's, hi, here are some code fixes that you can implement, and it gives you what you could do. Here's the fixed code. All I will need to do is click this, copy this onto the clipboard, and again, decide to push it onto a merge request. Oops, I hope you can see it there. So just like that, GitLab Duo was able to explain code that I wasn't familiar with, in a language that I wasn't familiar with. It was able to explain it and fix it. And I would also like to show you how it's able to, let's close the Duo chat there, it's also able to suggest code to me. So as you saw here, hold on, if I select enter after a specific line, so having a look at line 22, we've got self.projects, I select enter, a little icon pops up there. It's only an instant, so let's look back at that. And what it's doing is thinking. It's thinking, and usually, I mean, it's not working right now. I think it's because this code is finished, but let's just say I was writing the code. GitLab Duo is thinking on ways in which you can continue the code and continue the line of code. This code is completed, so there's not really much there. But if there was, and you needed some suggestions, it will think and write you, like in gray, of course, some suggestions, and it would be up to you whether you accept it with pressing enter or not accept it by just continuing and ignoring the suggestion. So that's another way in which GitLab Duo can help you. So it can help you with explaining, suggesting, and fixing. And the last but not least, of course, as you saw when I highlighted it there, you can also, there it is, generate some tests and also refactor. Or if you just want to have a quick chat with Duo, you can always go here in your web IDE, and Duo is always there with the previous conversation that you once had. Okay, so I know that was a lot. So let's recap quickly. We've touched on the planning and how it can help you with your issues. You're generating descriptions. We then touched more around the code and how when you're in your web IDE, you can do some explanations, some suggestions. There are also some other features like merge or commit messages that it can generate for you. It could also generate some merge request summaries. We didn't look into that today, but again, it's another AI feature that you can leverage when you're using GitLab Duo. Now we'll move on to more the security piece. So let's have a look at what that looks like. Back to GitLab, we go down to secure and we go down to vulnerability report. With the vulnerability report, you usually get like a list of different vulnerabilities that have been detected in your pipelines, in your code. There's loads that are critical, so let's select and make this a little bit more tailored to what we are looking for today. All the ones, and I just want to see the SAST ones. And maybe let's make them some. Okay, so I've selected the type of vulnerability I want to see. And here that brings me to this one vulnerability that is medium severity and is titled Authorization Bypassed through User Controlled Key. It's got a description here, it's got some information on here, it tells me the location of the vulnerability, etc. Now, if you can see here, there's a little AI pop-up and it says explain or resolve with AI. So if we select explain with AI, GitLab Duo chat opens up. And as you can see, as it's working, which is once again, a lot quicker than what I would be able to identify and get to the bottom of within those seconds. It's able to give you a quick analysis of your vulnerability, what's happened, how an attacker can exploit this. So this is really important because it's giving you an understanding of the vulnerability and how it can be leveraged by an attacker. And how to fix the vulnerability. So this is an example of how to fix it. So what you would need to do is copy this snippet to fix the vulnerability, and it will go down in severity. It will not be medium, and it will be nice and resolved with a merge request. And it also reminds you of some best practices around this to keep in mind, and which is super, super helpful at all times. This can be done with different vulnerabilities that you may have identified. I just wanted to show you this quick example. I've got another one here, which is also critical, open. And we can also, once again, ask GitLab Duo chat to do the same thing. And again, it explains it, it gives you a scenario. It's very thorough with the explanation. And it really helps, especially those that are not so familiar, are just wanting to onboard onto a project quickly. To get on top of things and understand where vulnerabilities can go wrong and can be leveraged by the wrong people. So, moving on, that was the vulnerability bit. Let's move on to the next bit here. So, we touched on the vulnerability explanation and resolution. So with our built-in security. Now, there are loads of other features available that I won't be touching on today because we would be here all day long. I just wanted to mention the last few things that I may have missed. Like, for example, if you are utilizing the merge request commit messages, that helps any user merge more quickly by generating those meaningful commit messages. And if you are looking to collaborate and review similar to issues and descriptions, you can get summaries. And again, that's really helpful when you're working on a large scale project with loads of different people. So yeah, just wanted to mention that, and so that we have covered the entire flow as much as we can in this short period of time. And without further ado, I'll pass over to Phil.
Thank you, Muna. That was really, really excellent. I really enjoyed that. And it's quite really incredible to see the Duo chat and the different things. I think it harks back to some of the topics that I was mentioning over how the security piece can be addressed as well as, by AI, and you've shown a concrete solution of that. We're seeing some questions coming in. We might not have time to deal with many of them today, but I'll ask you one of them. So obviously there's quite a few AI solutions out there which are external to GitLab Duo. So how is this, using GitLab Duo different from, ChatGPT or another kind of AI solution that you might use?
Yeah, that's a great question. So unlike ChatGPT, for example, GitLab Duo is built in directly into your development workflow, and they understand that specific code base. So as I mentioned earlier, it's all in that single data store. It's all within GitLab. And as you also saw in the demo, it's not going anywhere. And it really offers those specialized security, testing, and DevSecOps features. Now, if you're utilizing ChatGPT, it might not even align with your organization standards, as they do train on data, and it is like a public AI service. Whereas with Duo is all built in, it's secure. So if you are in one of those like highly regulated industries, Duo is a lot better when you are working on code that is very sensitive, and just data overall that's quite sensitive.
Okay, great. There's another question around the languages that are supported. I think you showed that an example with Python. Can you just sort of maybe give a bit more details about what languages you can use with Duo?
Yeah, sure. There's like loads of different languages, and this is all also highly like documented on our GitLab Duo docs. So it supports all the major programming languages like Python, JavaScript, Java, Ruby, and many others. It adapts to your project's languages and frameworks automatically. So it's very rare that there's a coding language that's not suitable or GitLab Duo doesn't support. But if you want like an extensive list, that would all be available in our GitLab Duo documentation. If you're curious about a particular language, but all the major ones are all covered, so there's no need to worry.
Okay, and then I think I'll just have one more question, and it's about the learning curve and how long does it take to get started with using GitLab Duo, for example?
Yeah, sure. That's a really good question, actually. So I can only hope that with the demo, you saw how quickly it is to get started with it. GitLab overall is very user-friendly. I think it's one of the easier platforms to get started on board. If you are more interested in learning more, we do have the GitLab University, and you can particularly go ahead and learn about Duo and accredit yourself and really take a deeper dive. Overall, though, it's really quickly. It's a really quick onboarding journey. Most teams are up and running in less than a day. You need to be enabled. You need to, of course, enable those GitLab features and settings, and have GitLab Duo as an add-on within your license. And the developers can easily utilize all those features that I mentioned, like the code suggestion, the code explanation, pretty quickly. And of course, with added training, if you're interested, it would be a lot easier to get that onboarding started. But I hope that the demo I showed you really showcase how simple it is to get started, even if you're not familiar with this particular coding language, or if you're not so familiar on how to use GitLab. You can always use like the chat feature and ask any questions that you may have.
Okay, excellent. So thank you again. So for people watching this live, please remember that there's going to be a recording published of this webinar alongside all the previous webinar recordings. So if you need to review anything that was discussed today or in a previous webinar, they're all there. This is number 5 on May the 27th. Please make a note of it in your calendar. It's going to be an interesting one about Eficode's AI Agent Factory, and hope to see you at that one. But for now, thank you very much for attending this really interesting demo and discussion, and thanks very much.